We are about 10 seconds away. That is your grid. And we are off. Raleigh for the Wild, also known as CrossFit Thor, starting in quadrant number 1. Montenegro for the Venom, also in quadrant number 1. Those dumbbells, 40 pounds apiece, 8 reps apiece as they work through that. For the ladies on the Venom side, Germaine. And I can't quite see for the Wild. Amanda Fisher. That's Amanda Fisher over there with Raleigh for the Wild. She's chipping away at her 8 reps. Germaine has 2 reps remaining. Raleigh now over.
And that's Dylan Florentine over on the Venom, his second match. He was a single match sign in the last match, and now he is here as a mid-season sign.
That's right, and he looks like he's been part of the grid for a long time, the way he was moving on those burpees. Right now, these teams are both neck and neck. We have seen neither of the referees put their hands up just now, going up for the Venom. And it looks like Raleigh has actually already moved forward to the second quadrant. All right, so we've got Amanda Fisher and Raleigh on your screen. Raleigh working through those devil's press at 50 pounds a hand. Dylan Florentine for the Venom, 1 rep remaining. Germaine standing in the hash mark, waiting to come in. Yeah, go ahead.
Even though this is Dylan's second time ever on the grid, second time ever seeing grid, you can tell that he has such high competition IQ by the way that he doesn't even start moving until he knows that Germaine is in the box.
Yeah, and that's something that's just common with the grid. You know, typically you don't have any competitions where your partner needs to be to a certain spot before you can actually start moving. So really good wherewithal when it comes to being on the grid, especially for a second match and just learning about the grid recently. Over on the Wild side, we are seeing them substitute out now. It looks like that might be Bible. I can't tell.
That is Patrick Long on the Wild.
Patrick Long, okay. Yep.
And Deanna McGillivray.
Yeah, McGillivray.
McGillivray.
I spoke to her before the match. She said all you got to do is sound it out and put a dash between each of the
Oh, I love that.
So McGillivray. We got it, though. And Joe Gomez
with
out
Alyssa
now.
Martinez.
And Martinez for the Venom. Gomez coming off an ACL repair, or ACL injury, rather, from last season. Little bump there, but they're still moving. Now over with the Wild, McGillivray and Long. Trying to communicate, figure out what they have left. So 2 reps remain. The Wild just 2 reps ahead of the Venom in quadrant number 4. McGillivray able to lock it out. She's got 1 rep left. Can she get those dumbbells overhead? Yes, she does.
Alyssa Martinez overhead. Oh, it looks like there was a fault with McGillivray on her last devil's press. Venom are pulling ahead, and they step into the finish line, finishing first.
Wow, and the Venom are celebrating a huge victory as they were much further behind and didn't really stand much of a chance, but it looks like McGillivray got that fault because she went to her shoulder before overhead. For a devil's press, you must go from the ground directly to overhead without stopping at the shoulder.
That's right, that's why it's called a devil's press. It is not easy.
No. So the Wild came out hot, looking very good. They were pretty much ahead heading into quadrant number 4. That little slip up with the devil's press ultimately cost them the race.
Yeah, it definitely cost them a lot of time, a lot of miscommunication and trying to, well, those are new players, you know. It'll always be a little bit of a learning curve when it comes to the grid. This is such a unique sport.
And that goes for Dylan Florentine over with the Venom. Like we said, they don't have a lot of time to communicate, to be in the same room, to work together. They ended up having having him, he looked like he'd been part of the team since last season. He moved beautifully.
Really
so
good.
Both teams showing a lot of heart. Venom digging in and ended up taking that race. So, looking forward, after this partner forward, we're going to be looking towards the mirror. We'll talk about that briefly here shortly. We're going to let them clear up the grid and then hear a word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
Sounds like a plan. What I love about Slate, first of all, it's lactose free. It has 175 milligrams caffeine, so it's great to take instead of your coffee. I have 20 grams of protein, no sugar added, so it's great for breakfast. The other one I love is the chocolate milk one. Who doesn't love chocolate milk? You can have it while having 20 grams of protein included at the same time, so it helps you get your protein in during the day, recover from workouts.
In a typical day, I'm usually kind of running around with my head cut off a little bit, and I'm constantly needing just a quick and easy snack that's more than just like a shake or a protein bar that's really not that much protein and stuff like that. So this is just really easy to bring with me, and it keeps me a lot fuller than, say, like a protein shake would. And it's just easy on the go. Like, you can't really bring chicken breast with you. You can, but it's kind of weird. This is a lot more convenient because I can just put it in a little Ziploc bag, take it with me and go and eat it either between coaching or between my sessions or whatever I need to do. Even in the car, that's a big one. When I'm traveling and I'm just like, can't really eat a bowl of something, I just need something that's quick and easy that I can eat with my hands. As a nutrition coach, I'm always looking for easy snacks to recommend to my clients and obviously for myself as well. I'm a little bit more picky on ingredients because I like things that are just simple and clean without a bunch of like added chemicals and crap. So this is perfect. It's literally 2 ingredients, pork, ham, and salt. Like, that's it. Just 2 things.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Race number 1 is behind us. That was the partner forward. Wild were leading. Had a little miscommunication, little error at the end. Fault. Venom take that race, currently leading the Wild 2-1. Now we look ahead at the mirror. For this second race of the match, the mirror, there is a required number of reps for both of the genders to complete in each quadrant. Both genders must finish their sets before anyone on the team can move to the next quadrant. Now, once that barbell comes off the ground, it cannot touch the floor at all through all 4 quadrants. If it does, all players must run to the start and before continuing again. And any player on the grid can assist with supporting the barbell as long as it's not during the actual movement being performed. Now let's talk about some of the movements, or the movements, and weight for today. We are looking at hang squat cleans, 8 in each quadrant. For the men, 205 pounds, and for the ladies, 140 pounds. Now, we touched on this a few times throughout the matches today, but if you look to the right of your screen, you'll see an element value that's been assigned to these movements. This is an element value of 2 out of possible 4. So this is what we would call not heavy weight, but something that all these players should be able to manage on the team. We've got about 30 seconds now, and we're gonna fire off this mirror match. Excuse me, mirror race. All right, 3 males and 3 females on each team coming out on to the grid. 205 on the gentleman's bar, 140 for the ladies. And they are off. Tam for the Venom on the bar for the ladies, and Florentine for the men. Raleigh for the Wild on the barbell, and Fisher for the ladies. both teams chipping away at these 8 repetitions. This is where communication is key. That barbell cannot go down, and this is a very hard thing to work on when you're not in the same room as some of your players or some of your teammates. Now, so far, they're only 2, maybe 1 or 2 reps behind the Wild.
Oh my goodness, Slade Villalobos with a little misstep there. He has 4 reps left. He's having a little bit of trouble meeting the standards of standing up all the way with the hip extension and also getting his elbows through.
Yeah, that's right. And over with the Wild, Bible and McGillivray, both chipping away. They've only got 1 rep apiece. And it looks like they are going to move on to quadrant number 4. They have about a full quadrant, maybe 8-rep lead over the Venom. That does not mean this race is over, though. If that barbell touches the ground, they will have to run back to the start. Let's see if they can hold out through this last quadrant. Taking a look now over with the Wild. They are going through that finish line and will celebrate their victory. They did take that thing pretty handily. They were about 6 or 8 reps ahead, 1 full quadrant, I would say, from the Venom. And now you've got Florentine and Tam, who started this race together in quadrant 1, now finishing quadrant number 4. Florentine showing that he is a definite huge asset to these teams. And the Venom do finish under their cap. So with that, the Wild will take 2 points and the Venom will take 1. Current score 4-2.
Unofficially.
Unofficially, Venom over the Wild.
Yeah, it looks like it just came down to that second quadrant with Slade. He was having a little bit of trouble meeting those standards. And it's really hard to fix yourself when you cannot put down the barbell.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't put it down. You got to adjust yourself. They can help adjust if it's down at the hip or if it was a thruster at the shoulder. But depending on where that movement has to come from will depend on where you have to start and stop from. Now, let's look ahead. We have the ringer point coming up next. We still have a few minutes as they get the grid prepared for this ringer point. It has been chosen by the Venom. It is 9 muscle-ups. These are ring muscle-ups. So what we have are Montenegro for the Venom and Justin Adams for the Wild. Both of these guys are very good at gymnastics. Now, I follow both of them on Instagram. I do know that Justin Adams is also a huge teacher of gymnastics. He teaches classes, they do seminars, they go around the country. So he may have a slight edge if he can get to the rings and just cycle through those movements a little faster, being that he has that large gymnastics background.
Definitely, and Montenegro was recently injured, so.
Do you know what he injured? What was coming
I believe something in his pectoral muscle.
Oh, interesting. So we'll see if that plays a part in this as they head in. Here we go. And the gentlemen are off. Justin Adams sprinting to his rings. Montenegro doing the same. Adams is up. He is doing the butterfly, both gentlemen doing the butterfly muscle up, essentially dropping in from the top.
They are rep for rep right now.
Rep for rep, and essentially it's a little faster than doing muscle ups the regular way.
Oh, and Andres Montenegro's gonna take it for the Venom.
Wow.
Long not far behind him.
I don't know how or why that happened. Montenegro, the Venom, are celebrating together. He did grab his chest a little bit just then as he came off the finish line. Justin Adams, disappointed, but, you know.
I'm no expert, but what it looked like was both gentlemen were swinging very much. It just looked like Montenegro just had a little bit more control to get his shoulders over his wrist, which is the standard for the Grid League.
Yeah, you're right. And what happens is when he did his first butterfly, he swung into it and it sent him flying up into the next movement, where with Adams, he was kind of doing a little rock before, so that hesitant was 1 extra second. In any event, it goes to the Venom, and we'll be right back for the Echo.
The peachy shorts are squat proof. They hold up for burpees. Hands down, they're my favorite things to wear. Squat test. I think we're good to go.
These leggings are to die for. So stretchy, super comfy.
They look cute, they feel good, they don't pinch on the sides. The legs are always loose enough and they don't dig in.
They don't move, which I appreciate because I'm one of the curvier girls.
I like them.
They're great.
Love everything about them.
I'm really digging the Peachy.
I've loved wearing Peachy athletics this year.
Looking peachy.
With older timers in the past, we constantly found ourselves having to change our programming to fit with what the timer was able to do. We constantly found our coaches having to watch a clock instead of watching their athletes work. My name is Mike Macbeth, owner of Requisite Fitness in Philadelphia. I was first exposed to the Gym Next timer through the Grid League, running various interval lengths of races, asking different time domains required something more than just simply an up counter. Even though I was exposed to it years ago, I didn't adopt it right away. I thought it was one more thing that would make things more complicated. Turns out the Gym Next timer in the app has a really short learning curve. I can't even say that the Gym Next timer has simplified my day. Because of the way we use it, I experience just so much more ease during the week, knowing that the entire week is taken care of. We set up the timers the week before. We sit down, take a look at the programming, and build out the entire week so our coaches have nothing to do besides open up the app, click and go. Running a group fitness model without the Gym Next timer is a non-negotiable.
Cook less and live more with rebuilt meals. Fresh, nutritious meals, chef prepared and perfectly portioned to help you hit your macros. No shopping, prepping, cooking, or cleaning. No commitments and no contracts. Rebuilt Meals offers plans to satisfy any lifestyle. We offer gluten-free, dairy-free, and soy-free options. And the menu changes every week, so you'll never get bored. Let us do the cooking so you can do all the living. Visit rebuiltmeals.com and use promo code REBUILTREADY for 50% off your first order.
A lot of people don't go to the doctor because they're afraid the doctor's going to say, stop CrossFitting. We should never be our patient's limiting factor. Our job is to help our patients hit whatever goal they want to with no restrictions. And I think today's healthcare model doesn't allow that because your insurance will limit that. Being in an insurance-based clinic, a lot of times you get restricted on what you can treat, how much of it you can treat. And then half the time people are told, oh, well, it hurts when you do a pipping pull-up, don't do those anymore. Rather than, hey, let's find a way to resolve this so you can go back to doing that. You want to go talk to somebody who does those things and totally understands what you're doing, rather than going to somebody who's never done any of those before and maybe understands biomechanics really well, but if they can actually physically watch you do it, it's going to be really hard for them to fix that problem. So I would say, if you're dealing with any kind of pain in the gym, we're the people to go to.
All right, folks, we are back, and we are currently under a referee review. They just want to verify the count of those muscle-ups in our last ringer point, just to verify that all of the good reps that were counted correctly.
Right. It's really important that, in the spirit of fairness, that we review these things to make sure that everything is equitable.
Absolutely.
Between the teams.
In a growing sport like this, that's what you want.
Definitely.
Can't have, little gray areas at all. All right, so we're hearing from our MC. The referee has reviewed, the count is good, and the Venom did take that ringer point. Montenegro coming off of that, what we believe was a pec injury. I did see him wincing a little bit afterwards, so hopefully it doesn't affect the rest of the match. We can see him on the screen speaking right now with a few players on the team. But with that, we're going to look ahead to the Echo.
What is in the Echo?
Well, the Echo is exactly how it sounds. Players basically race 3 is gonna start, and then 45 seconds, they're gonna run it back exactly the same way they did in race 3. So back to back. Now, one player may be accumulating reps according to a designated number of the element reps. What that means is essentially if they're out there. You have 12, any players can work on, so they have 12, 100. We'll go over to the movement standards here, the element standards, and we'll talk about it. Here you go. They've got a 150-pound D-ball to lift over the yoke. Now, that's male or female, doesn't matter. The weight doesn't change. The height of the bar is what changes. So they will come out. They can send one man to do all the work, one lady to do all the work, or have them go out together and chip away. We've seen different strategies from all the teams. After that, toes to bar plus double touch plus triple touch. That is a toe to bar, then a toe to bar, chest to bar, then a toe to bar, chest to bar, bar muscle up. 10 reps of that complex, followed by toes to ring plus back uprise, and then finishing with 10 175-pound barbell complexes. For the men, it'll be a clean plus 2 thrusters, and for the ladies, a clean plus 2 shoulder to overhead. Now we're gonna look here to our grid as we kick things off. It looks like
teams stand by. Reese.
That is Long and McGillivray for the Wild. Doing exactly like we talked about. McGillivray going over that 45-inch bar.
And if we head over to the Venom, that's actually Casey Blow. She used to play for the Gainesville Wild until she signed with the Daytona Beach Venom for this season.
Yeah, I remember her in the championship last year, actually, in the sprint relay.
That's right.
Now her and Villalobos working to chip away at those 12 D-ball over the yoke. And it looks like the Wild have just finished sending out Billington and Alex Alvarez for the Venom. You can see both of them on your screen, and that's Raleigh for the Wild.
And over here on the Venom, we got Sabrina Cheney and Alex Alvarez completing those.
Yes, and she is a gymnast.
Yes, she is a former college gymnast.
Yep, collegiate gymnast. Alex Alvarez, also one of their top bodyweight specialists. And Raleigh for the Wild, trying to chip away. A little slower than some of them, but maybe that helps. You know, we noticed in the first few matches of the day, there was a lot of confusion, a lot of faults, a lot of things going on here. So taking your time might be the right strategy for both of these teams overall.
Oh, definitely. If you go too fast on these, you can lose control, and that's the last thing you want, is to lose a rep on a really long complex like this.
Yep. And now we got Cheney for the, no, I'm sorry.
This is Angelina Midas for the Daytona Beach Venom.
Yeah, and that's RJ Hubbard for the Wild, doing those toes to ring to back uprise. That's Montenegro now out for the Venom. Once again, showing that we're looking at Hubbard right now. He's got 1 rep left. Over with Montenegro and the Venom, they have 1 rep left. And he is good. Looks like Montenegro did 1 extra. Germain for the Venom and McGillivray for the Wild. These ladies are both holding a 175-pound bar. It is 1 clean plus 2 shoulder to overheads for the ladies. And for the gentlemen, it is 1 clean plus 2 thrusters.
No hands up yet hand up for the Gainesville Wild.
Yep, and that's Long and McGillivray on the Wild, chipping away at their complex. Over with the Venom, Dylan Florentine, the new pickup, and Casey Blow, the new sign from the Wild, trying to finish up. Both teams have 2 or 3 reps remaining. 1 rep for the Venom, 3 more for the Wild, and Casey Blow will wrap it up for the Venom. They have now taken 3 out of the 4 races and are celebrating. Now we're taking a look at Long, just trying to finish up that last rep. But a very excited Venom team they're fired up. They did not win anything last month in the first week. Now they're in it. They're 3 out of 4 matches. Unofficially have a lead of 7-5. So what are you thinking now? We were talking about the Venom there. They don't practice together. They've looked like it in week number 1, but now they look like a team that had some time to get their stuff together.
And they look so happy about it. I'm very glad that they found their rhythm and they've gotten their people back, because it's really hard to do a competition and come in knowing that you're missing your key players.
Yeah, for sure. And now we're 4 seconds away. We're running this thing back. That's why they call it the Echo. And we're off again. Gomez and Germain for the Venom. Long. And that's
I believe that is actually Yana Babbitt.
Number 3. Yes, you are correct. That is Babbitt.
Yana Babbitt actually had a back injury in 2015 and had to actually relearn how to walk completely. So it's very impressive that she's able to compete at such a high-level sport such as grid.
Wow. Yeah, that's unbelievable. And now let's see the Venom. They have jumped ahead just a bit. Alex Alvarez has completed 1 of the 10 of these toes to bar, double touch, triple touch. And we've got Justin Adams, as I previously mentioned, runs RX Gymnastics, does seminars all around the country. So as you can see, he's very efficient when it comes to those complex of the toes to bar, double touch, triple touch. All right, and then Shaney, it looks like, having trouble, right?
Faults it out. Alex Alvarez trying to pick up the speed. Hand up for the Daytona Beach Venom, 4 reps left. Gainesville Wild also with 4 reps left. Sabrina Cheney faulting out again, subbing out for Angelina Midas.
Yeah, and we got Alex Alvarez trying to finish up. She's gonna go get on the rings while he finishes these last 3 reps. Heading over to the Wild. They have 2 reps remaining, so they are still neck and neck in this second race of the Echo.
Venom have 1 rep remaining. Alex Alvarez is looking pretty tired on it.
Yes, he did have to pretty much wrap up for everybody. And it looks like Billington, that is Billington on the rings right now for the Wild, and Montenegro for the Venom. You can see both of them on your screen right now, working on those back to up, or toes to ring to back uprise. And the Wild now have pulled ahead. Okay, so we've got Casey Blow and Florentine, and now looking at Raleigh for the Wild and Fisher as they try to chip away at these last 10 reps of this barbell complex.
And it's looking like CrossFit Thor is going to be finishing the remaining reps for the Gainesville Wild. Amanda Fisher standing by the finish line, looking super chill, just waiting to get over it and get into there.
Yeah, and they've got about a 2-rep lead. Now, he is also one of the players in the league, one of 4 that has a 400-pound clean.
Oh, wow.
400 pounds. So he made that 175 look like nothing. The Wild are going to celebrate as they've taken the second race of the Echo. And now we're looking at Germain locking out her shoulder to overhead. So once again, the Wild have now taken the Echo.
Interesting. I don't think that's happened all day, that one team has won an Echo and then the opposite team has won afterward.
No, and I have seen it last season. We saw that the Brigade took advantage of that when they saw a hole in the Breakers game. They threw a bonus flag. We haven't seen anything here with bonuses, but both teams taking half and half of the Echo today for this 4th match. So we've got the score updated. I believe that looking back, it is going to be 8 to 7 with the Venom over the Wild by 1. Unofficially, don't quote me on that. And we will look ahead. Coming up next, we have our strength ladder. We're going to take a few minutes while they reset our grid, and we'll be right back.
I love Element Salt a lot.
Hardcore Element user.
Element's been awesome.
Element.
Element.
I've been using Element basically every day. I love it.
I was, back to working out and wanted to make sure that I stayed hydrated because that's so important for your supply.
It was a game changer for me because all through high school and college, I would always cramp. This generally comes from that mineral imbalance. Having Element Tea, in my training bag keeps me hydrated. It's phenomenal.
It rejuvenates me in the workout. It's what my body craves and it's what it needs after sweating so much. It's definitely helped me get through really long, tough workouts and just give me the energy that I need in order to keep pushing through.
I'm a bodyweight specialist for the Fort Lauderdale Lions. We have all kind of bodyweight movements, rope climbs, bow jumps, pistols, double touches. These shoes are definitely gonna be on my feet during the next matches since the grip on the sole is so good. I feel super safe doing the rope climbs, like having my feet super secure on the sprints, all kind of movements like that.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. So we just finished a very exhilarating echo race where the Venom took the first half. 45 seconds later, reset, run it back, Wild take the second half. As you mentioned, we haven't seen that all day in the first 3 matches. Now we're looking forward to our strength ladder.
What is a strength ladder?
Well, these teams are going to accumulate as many points as possible, essentially. Maximum of 10 points per player. Teams accumulate as many points as possible through these successful lifts. Now, the weight and point value increase as you move down the grid, just as you can see in this picture. Points value is equal to the quadrant number, and it's 1 lift attempt per bar. And you can, of course, skip any bar, but you cannot go back once you've done that. If for any reason you fail one of the lifts, you are done. You must leave the grid, and another player cannot come out until you cross the finish line.
90 seconds, 90 seconds.
Talking about the movements and the weights. Snatch plus hang snatch. That's what gives us our match format, hang loose. This is a gripper. Gotta hang on. As far as the weights, it's a snatch plus a hang snatch. You can do power or squat, does not matter. For the men, quadrant number 1, 175 pounds. For the ladies, 105. Quadrant 2, for the men, 195 pounds, and for the ladies, 125. And in quadrant number 3, 215 pounds and 140 pounds for the ladies. And then capping it off in quadrant number 4, 235 pounds for the men and 155 pounds for the ladies. As you can see on the right side of your screen, the element values assigned. Quadrant is equal to its element value today. We've got about 30 seconds, and we're going to send these teams off.
It's going to be interesting because the Venom are usually pretty strong on the ladder, but we are unfamiliar with this Gainesville Wild team. This is almost a completely rebuilt Gainesville Wild team, so it'll be interesting to see how they fare up against the Venom.
Yeah, and one part I left off when going over this, they only have 4 minutes to send their players through. They alternate 1 male, 1 female. As you can see on the screen, females lined up on the right side of the grid or the outside of the grid. And the inner side of the grid is the men.
Teams, stand by.
We got 3 seconds. We're going to see how this goes. All right, so they're off. Now, it looks like...
That is Sarah Homestead for the Daytona Beach Venom.
All right.
And that is Yana Babbitt over on the Gainesville Wild side if we go and take a look over at her over there. And she is running to the finish line.
Yeah, she did quadrants 1 and 2 and then took off. Sometimes it's strategy. They know what their players can lift. If they think they can take an extra quadrant, they may try if they have extra time. But for the most part, they're not gonna. They're gonna do with what they've worked with and practice. Now we've got Robbie Rodriguez on the screen for the Venom, one of the strength and utility players.
That's Rhino Robbie.
That is Rhino Robbie.
To those of you that don't know.
And it looks like R.J. Hubbard did not finish, so I'm not sure what's going on with him. He headed off the rig. Now we've got Meg Adams in quadrant number 2. No problem for her with that 125-pound barbell. And now looking at Robbie Rodriguez.
Robbie Rodriguez on that last bar. Going for the hang. Oh, and he sneaks under it. Oh, and misses it out front.
Wow, so he'll take a fault on that. That will not count. He was not able to lock it out.
Over on the Gainesville Wild, we have Amanda Fisher. It looks like the Gainesville Wild is going for the quantity strategy. That means that they're sending all their players through as many bars as possible, just trying to go as fast as possible instead of just skipping over to the heavier bars that are worth more points.
Yeah, and I wonder if that will play out for them, work out for them, if they start missing or if anybody misses some bars later on, because those first 2 quadrants are only worth 1 and 2 points apiece.
2 minutes, teams, 2 minutes.
So who do we have? We got Joe Gomez, as we mentioned before. ACL injury last year, back out on the grid, looking stronger than ever. No problem with that 195-pound barbell. Now, we've got Raleigh, CrossFit Thor, in quadrant number 3. That barbell, 215 pounds. He's making his way to a 235-pound barbell. Should have no issue.
And he clears his first snatch ladder on the grid.
First ever. And Joe Gomez locking out that 4th quadrant, 235 pounds. Casey Blow and McGillivray. So we got McGillivray for the Wild on your screen. Casey Blow now on your screen in quadrant number 2, 125-pound barbell. Moving on to quadrant 3. And McGillivray standing up her 155-pound bar in quadrant number 4. Now we're looking at the Wild. This is Long, done with quadrant 1, heading into quadrant 2. For the Venom, who do we have out there, Cassie?
That is Eduardo Casillas.
Casillas, oh yes.
This is his rookie year in the Daytona Beach Venom. He is a weightlifter, as you can see by his beautiful form.
Yeah, and his coach ran him up, so they have some plans for some other weight. Long standing up the 235-pound, the first snatch from the hang. Can he do it? Yes, he does. Long for the Wild. And this is Tam for the Venom in quadrant 3. Heading into quadrant 4, that barbell, 155 pounds. She gets under the squat. Can she hang with the hang?
And she stands
She
it
does.
up.
With 5 seconds to spare, Alex Alvarez
completes a snatch, but not the hang snatch, unfortunately.
And that will not count for him. Now, the last player that is on the grid when the time runs out, as long as their repetition is complete, they don't necessarily have to be off the grid. So it's still good as long as the second rep. In Alex Alvarez's case, not happening. But just so people at home, if they're ever wondering, the time runs out, they're still out there. That's what it is.
Yep.
All right, so now we're moving on from the ladder. Doesn't take long. They roll these barbells right out of here. We're moving on to our away ringer point. This was chosen by the Wild. What did they choose today?
They chose 4 rope climbs, if we could get the graphic up.
Yeah, that'll come along in just a minute. That's right, though. They had the 4 rope climbs, but we'll talk about that when we come back in just a few minutes.
Sounds good.
I was actually starting to make videos towards the end of high school to try to go to college for gymnastics, and I ended up having shoulder surgery. I tore my labrum, and that was it for gymnastics. A friend got me into CrossFit, and then when I heard about Grid, the original one, I did everything I could to try to be part of the league. I use a lot of grips, and these are just my favorite pair that I've ever touched. The way these are just sewn on and with that padding, it's a whole new dimension in terms of grips for CrossFit. And when you lock onto that bar like you're supposed to with these things, they just lock you in. These are probably the only grips I'll use.
My name is Courtney Moss. I play for the Tampa Bay Brigade, and I am a strength specialist on the team. I was born in Montgomery, Alabama. Fun fact about Montgomery, Alabama, it is the home of the Air Force, so I was actually born on Maxwell Air Force Base. Fun fact. I attended Alabama Christian Academy in Montgomery, Alabama, and I played both football and baseball. I decided to join the Army after all of my mentors growing up through sports from 5 until 21. All of them influenced me in so many ways, and just being that person to be service, to give service back to the community, service back to the world, service back to everyone. So I decided to join the military because I wanted to give that service back to the world. The biggest lesson I learned in the service that I would love to share with everyone is we are meant to do challenging things. Things may seem insurmountable, but we have the grit inside of us to get them all done. Fitness has helped me so much in character building. There's days that become challenging. There's days that are just mentally grinding, and being able to overcome, surpass all those other things that you have to normally go through throughout the day, incorporating.
All right, folks, we had a technical difficulty, but we are back with the ringer point. This is 4 rope climbs, super fast. Jermaine for the Venom. Babbitt out there for the Wild. They have 4 rope climbs. I got hands up for the Wild, 1 rep remaining, and 2 rep for the Venom. It looks like Babbitt coming off the rope quickly is gonna sprint into the finish. And she has taken that last away ringer point. Now, on our other screen, you can see Jermaine walking off, not happy, but her coach was trying to rush her off because you must finish within 20% of the time of the winning team, which her walking off the grid may have cost them an extra possible point.
That's right. Now, that means that unofficially, because they didn't finish within 20% of that time, they have potentially gotten 0 points, and the Wild have gotten 2 points, which takes their tie and gives the Gainesville Wild 2 points.
Correct. And now if you're looking at our screen, you see the score is 9-9. The Wild, it did take the strength ladder 55-50 over the Venom. Now because of that, they received 2 points for the ladder, and the Venom received 0 points because they were not within 10 points. So with that being said, we're going to look forward to our next race, which is Jack and Jill, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.
We are Relax and Get Results. Josh and Daniel here. We've been with the Grid League since about 5 years now, and we love being part of the team, taking care of the team. Their well-being means a lot to us, so we're always in the sideline, making sure they're okay. You know, we specialize in everything that has to do with sports, massage, sports recovery, stretching. So what we do is basically help them maximize their potential and help them prevent injury as well.
The recovery aspect, we speed up the recovery time, help athletes regain range of motion that they've lost due to injury or overuse, overtraining. Pretty much just keeping people as healthy as possible is what our goal is.
Yeah, especially with Greed, you know, it's very intense and it's very fast. So when we improve their mobility, their flexibility, they're obviously going to perform at a higher level. So with them, that's mainly our main concern, is to get them flexible so they're faster at everything they do.
Unlike American football or baseball, where positions are very clearly defined with rules specific to them, Grid League positions are more general. Think of it as a spectrum with a 4-foot gymnast on one end and a 400-pound strongman on the other, with every possible size, shape, and skill set focus filling in the middle. Roles on the grid have a lot of crossover from position to position, and there are many possible combinations that will yield a great team. Grid League has 3 primary player positions or roles on the team. Utility players generally have a wide range of abilities and end up with a diverse set of assignments on the grid. Utility players, although often assigned more total work than specialists, will still focus on their best movements as their means to contribute to the team. The strength specialist role often involves heavier assignments and, depending on the player's background, may be even more focused to individual types of strength movement, such as Olympic weightlifting or strongmen. Most of the super high-skill movements, like backward roll to support in deficit, freestanding handstand push-ups, are performed by bodyweight specialists. That said, there are several bodyweight specialists that mainly focus on more basic movements, but for big sets and fast cycle rates. Many are gymnasts as well, but even some of the best do not have gymnastics backgrounds, such as former MVP Paul Lays. Learn more about the sport of Grid League at fgl.com/learn.
All right, party people, we are back and we are getting ready to head into our Jack and Jill race. I'm going to bring up the graphics for you so we can talk about what is happening here. 3 stations of body weight elements. Players can substitute by gender at any time. 1 male, 1 female out on the grid. For the movements today. Jack and Jill, quadrant number 2, they have 15 ring forward rolls. Also in quadrant 2, 10 deck to pullover, and finishing with 5 deck to backflip. Now we're a few seconds away, about 15 seconds. And I do want to apologize, I made a mistake with that ladder match. The Venom did receive 1 point as they were within those 10 points for the score. And now the teams are off. Justin Adams and Montenegro head to head on these movements. Element.
These are the ring forward rolls. Each team has to complete 15, and it doesn't matter if the male or the female completes the reps, as long as there are 15 reps done on those set of rings.
That's right, Cassie. And we see hands up for the Wild. They have 3 reps remaining. Over with the Venom, Alex Alvarez. Trying to get it. Oh, okay. Alvarez has 1 rep. He locks it out.
We have Sarah Homestead with the deck to pullovers.
Yep, and over with, that's Justin Adams over there with the Wild and Babbitt.
We got Gomez and Homestead over here for the Daytona Beach Venom. Homestead just vaulted. They need to make up some slack. Oh, there goes Justin on the Gainesville Wild. Got stuck on that last deck to pull over that he did. He's going to tag in
Billington. That is Billington and Babbitt that you see on your screen. Both teams with 3 reps remaining on this deck to pull over. Neck and neck in this Jack and Jill.
Angelina Midas.
Now with the Venom. Midas knocking out those backflips. Billington doing the same for the Wild. And it looks like there was some confusion, but the Venom, wow, that was a photo finish.
Yeah, it looked like the Venom thought that they had to do an extra rep. At least they did their due diligence. Because, you know, a lot of times you never know that you're not doing that last rep, and it costs you so much more time.
But I will say that I think the Wild, they're going to probably review this just in case, but I believe they had somebody across the finish, so they may have gotten in there. We're going to see when we come back. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
We will.
So at that point, I knew she had an ACL rupture. It would not have done well without surgery. She would likely have not returned to her sport. So fixing it was absolutely imperative.
Upgraded to one crutch. Aretha strong. Aretha is strong.
During and afterwards, I felt some pain just because like the swelling was pretty bad. And then also when I saw you did some ortho tests and like my tibia was out of place. So there was this like loud pop and then I was able to like walk again.
I'd done CrossFit since about 2011 through 2020 as a former CrossFitter and a former athlete and a sports-trained orthopedic surgeon. That's an important part of what I do as a sports medicine physician is I look at the athlete's specific sport, the movements that are involved, and we tailor the rehab to get people back to their particular sport. I understand the movements that she does and what's involved in it, so there were certain things that I was very concerned about her doing after surgery. So we held off on those and we modified as needed, and it worked.
It definitely made it easier though to talk to him, just because if you go to a lot of doctors, they'll be like, oh, you're doing CrossFit. Oh, this is what you're doing. You look crazy. It's like, this is definitely dangerous, where he is very like easy to relate to and talk to. So I felt like comfortable with telling him like, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm trying to do. This is what I want to get back to. And it made it significantly easier talking to somebody that understands. If you get injured, take the time your body needs to recover. Be very patient with yourself, both physically and emotionally. It's really like, you kind of feel like you're alone when it happens initially, because like none of your other friends or family are feeling the way that you do. You feel like not helpless, but in a sense you feel like you lost your independence at the time. But just listen to yourself, listen to your doctor, and it's just a minor setback to fling you forward. It's all gonna end up better than what you expected.
Grid is like super fast fitness, and it's really unique because it's guys and girls on the same team. And unlike other sports, you don't have to be good at everything. You get to showcase your skills and what you're really good at. A lot of people confuse CrossFit and Grid and think they're the same thing, when really they're very different. Some of the movements are similar, and they might look like, oh, you're doing the same exercises, why isn't this CrossFit? But with CrossFit, you have to be good at everything. If you want to be competitive, you can't have any holes in your game. You have to be really strong, you have to be really fast, you have to be really good at gymnastics and have a really good engine. But with Grid, it's totally opposite. You can literally just be really strong. You can suck at burpees and a 20-minute Metcon, that doesn't matter. Your only job at Grid is to be really strong and move a barbell really fast. Or to be really gymnasty and be a ninja on the rig or on rings or whatever. Or just be someone like me who really likes burpees and likes to do a lot of that stuff. You know, like I'll never be the strongest or the gymnastiest, but I have a decent engine and I can move really quick. So for me, it's good because I get to do the stuff that nobody likes to do, like the box jumps and the burpees and that kind of stuff. Whereas my partners will save me, and they're going to do the back rolls to the support and the crazy stuff on the rings that I have no business doing. But together, that's how we win matches, because we all kind of come together and do the stuff that we're good at. I love Grid because, especially after college of being a collegiate athlete, I get to be a team athlete again. But the really cool thing about Grid is I get to compete against guys and beat guys at stuff. And they see us as equals. There's been times where guys have to go against girls and they're like, oh crap, I don't want to go against her. She's really good at this movement or whatever. And that's, you don't see that anywhere else. It's usually a soccer team has all girls or all guys, and it's like girls are really good at one thing in this sport, guys are really good at one thing in that sport, but it doesn't matter what you are. You're a human playing on this team, and you have a specific role that's important. And that's really cool to see, especially for women who think that they can't play sports with guys or whatever, and they see us on the grid like, wait a minute, they're sharing a barbell with a guy, like they're going against a guy, and they're keeping up or beating that guy. Like, that's just so cool and really empowering that we just get to feel as important is our counterparts, and it's just we're all needed to be on a team in order for the team to win.
All right, we are back and live here at the Orange County Convention Center in Orlando, Florida, week 2 of our Florida Grid League matches. Now, just want to cover a few things for the past races today. We discussed the ladder. I did make a mistake. The Wild, which I have covered, but the Wild had 55, Venom had 50. They were inside of 10 points. So 2 points went to the Wild for that race. 1 point went to the Venom. Then we moved on from there to Jack and Jill, where we left out the part where the Wild threw their bonus flag. Yeah. All right. With that gave an additional point to whoever took the race. Ended up that the Venom took that race.
That's right, so they essentially stole their bonus flag.
They stole the bonus from the Wild, correct. So they still have a bonus they can toss later. We are currently knotted up 12-12 with 3 races to go in our last match of the day.
That's right, Joe, and this is such an exciting match. It's been pretty much neck and neck the entire time. I believe the score right now is 12-12.
Yeah, knotted up.
We are tied.
Yep.
This could quite possibly end in another gridlock.
Maybe so. Let's look ahead to what our next race is. We have the female triad. So the triad is races 9 and 10. This is a gender-specific race. Starting with the female triad, they have 3 players on the grid at any given time. Each station must be complete before moving on to the next, and any player can work at any station as they go through. For the movements today, for the ladies, all the movements are same, whether male or female. But for the ladies, we have double kettlebell overhead lunges, and those kettlebells are 35 pounds apiece. Moving from there to 10-inch deficit handstand push-ups at 6 reps apiece. Following that, double kettlebell ground to overhead in quadrant number 3, 12 reps, 35 pounds in each hand. From there, 6-pound med ball bar muscle ups. 4 reps for the ladies, 6 reps for the men. And then finishing things with 16 reps of double kettlebell hang clusters. 35 pounds for the ladies, 53 for the gentlemen. And we got about 15 seconds before we start our female triad.
10 seconds.
On your screen, Meg Adams on the right. For the Wild, number 8. Nope, I'm sorry. Can't see her number perfectly. Fisher. Oh, that's Billington. Oh, there's 2 Billingtons out there. My apologies. Yes, that is Carrie Billington. And on your screen now, well, we have the Wild. There was a fault for Meg Adams. She's got to go behind that hash mark before she starts her lunge. So that's going to hold them up just a little bit. Venom making some substitutions as they go into those 10-inch deficit handstand push-ups. Now we're looking at the Wild. Little confusion about who should be going, who should be coming. Not really moving with any sense of urgency. As we look at the Venom, they are now done. There's still 2 reps remaining in one of the stations for the Venom. That's no good. Now we're watching the Wild try to finish up their reps. Both teams struggling with 1 station each. Well, the Wild now have pulled ahead. The Wild have 12 double kettlebell ground to overhead at 35 pounds. They're a couple of reps ahead of the Venom. Hands are up.
It looks like the Daytona Beach Venom have blown their lead over the Gainesville Wild with those handstand deficit push-ups.
You're right, they had, but now look at it. There's confusion, there's the communication. This is another thing we talk about with being in the same room, being in the same gym, being able to train together. The Venom aren't able to do that like most of these teams. So now we have the Wild coming back ahead. Meg Adams on your screen.
And for the Daytona Beach Venom, we have Angelina Midas, Alex Germain, and Sarah Homestead trying to catch up with the Gainesville Wild.
And Homestead, you can see her pink grips. Those are Sky Hill grips. One of our main sponsors, Sky Hill USA, making the best grips on the planet. You can check out skyhillusa.com.
We have Kristen Crenshaw moving those kettlebells for her team to the fourth quadrant, while Alex Germain finishes up those last reps on those med ball bar muscle ups. Kristen Crenshaw chopping those away, while the Gainesville Wild have a solid lead on them right now.
Yeah, the Wild look like they're going to take this. They have 16 reps apiece. Those are double kettlebell hang clusters, 35 pounds in each hand. There are 30 seconds for both of these teams to finish. Now, I have not seen both teams not finish a race before. This could be a new thing. Let's see. Hand is up for the Wild. 5 reps in that third station.
We have no hands up for the Daytona Beach Venom so far.
3 reps remaining. Can the Wild finish? Wow, and a sliding finish for the Wild. The Wild were able to finish with 1 second left. Venom not able to get under the cap.
That looked like a really, really tough female triad for both teams.
Unofficially goes to the Wild. 0 points will go to the Venom. That was insane. Now,
it looks like Coach Paul Bear is going to ask for a review of that photo finish from the Gainesville Wild to make sure that they did finish within the time cap.
Right, because if not, then both teams will take a 0.
That's right.
And it'll still be knotted up 12-12 as we head into the male triad. So we'll let them reset the grid. They're going to go through a review, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Hang tight.
A look of sheer terror. Like, I'm either going to fucking die or my legs are gonna give out from underneath me. They were like looking at it frame by frame.
At the same time.
The hardest one for me, the ringer point. The other races is like the team. It's all you.
It's all about recovery in my eyes. I put every last breath I can into the grid. I have an instinct that won't stop. I will not give up.
You don't want to let the team down. You want to get the point for the teams. The ringer point is just you.
This is a suicide sprint. 20 seconds. Player ready. Stand by. Race. Stopwatches to check and see.
big goal of mine is to share my story, to inspire others. Once I got back to the States, during hard chemotherapy rounds, I was back in remission, but now this time I needed to have a bone marrow transplant. After another round of chemotherapy, I then endured a fungal infection that was going to my brain. Very close call. Had 5 surgeries in 6 days. But I battled through, fought through, and survived. Made it to my bone marrow transplant. Took about 11 months for my blood to start reproducing again. You know, through that time, I still continued to train. I continued striving to just be the best I can be and do the best that my body could do. So I preach health and fitness because it saved my life, not once but twice. I will continue to tell my story on why I eat the way I eat every day. You know, I'm eating clean. Carnivore snacks, you know, it's just legit salt and your protein, and that's it. They all taste great. I look forward to snacking on them every day. Being a busy dad, I get to snack and not forget to eat while I'm taking care of my 14-month-old son. So carnivore snacks is great. I definitely highly recommend it.
All right, party people, we're back in the house here at the USA Fit Games, Florida Grid League Week 2. I'm Joe Roberto, this is Cassie Martinez, and we got 2 races left of our last match of the day. So currently, when we left off, well, we'll come back to that in a minute. Let's bring the graphics up and talk about what these gentlemen are doing. Same exact movements as the ladies. For the gentlemen, for that double kettlebell overhead lunge, 53 pounds in each hand. 6 reps of the deficit handstand push-up. 12 reps at 53 pounds of your double kettlebell ground to overhead. 6 reps of the 6-pound med ball bar muscle up, and then 16 double kettlebell hang clusters at 53 pounds a hand. 15 seconds. We're gonna see how this race is gonna go.
10 seconds.
On our screen, from left to right, Robbie Rodriguez, Alex Alvarez, and Eduardo Casillas. For the Wild, Long on your right, Raleigh, and Gasho, Geronimo Gasho. Wild and Venom neck and neck as they're crossing with these lunges. Of course, these lunges are just the beginning of a long triad race. Now we're watching the Venom rep away at their 10-inch deficit handstand push-ups. Only 6 reps here before they'll head back and pick up those kettlebells once again. Now with the Wild trying to catch up.
It looks like the Daytona Beach Venom are ahead of the Gainesville Wild, finishing their deficit handstand push-ups first, moving on to those kettlebell ground to overheads.
Yep, both teams repping away. Hands are up from the referees on the side of the Venom. For the Wild, 1 referee's hand is up. Few more reps left for the other 2 players on the team. Joe Gomez for the Venom, starting with those med ball muscle ups.
Alex Alvarez and Andres Montenegro not far behind. At least 1 rep in front of the Gainesville Wild. Hands are up for the Daytona Beach Venom.
Yeah, this is not just difficult to do the gymnastics, but you have to squeeze that 6-pound ball between your legs. So sweat. How much chalk is on the ball? Can you grip it with your knees? Can you cross your feet? You see some players able to cross their feet, like you're looking at Alex Alvarez here on the screen as he did his last rep.
And also, how long does it take you to pick it up once you drop it, as we see with Adams?
Exactly. Now, looking over at the Venom, they are in quadrant number 4. They have already begun with their 16 double kettlebell hang clusters. Each of those kettlebells weighing 53 pounds apiece.
Meanwhile, on the Gainesville Wild side, CrossFit Thor has just finished the last rep of those med ball
bar muscle ups. You got it. That's it, Cassie. Yeah, those are med ball bar muscle-ups. Now, they're playing catch-up in quadrant number 4. I don't see any reason that the Venom will not take this race. If that's the case, and the Wild finish, there will just be a 1-point difference between these two teams. Hands have not gone up yet. Hands are up now for the Venom. 4 reps remaining for the Venom. Hands are now up for the Wild. Just a few reps separating these two teams. Geronimo's having some issues.
20 seconds.
1 rep left for the Daytona Beach Venom. Pardon me, now 1 rep left. Robbie Rodriguez, he's gonna drop those and head to the finish line. Daytona Beach Venom finished first, so unofficially.
Yeah, they're fired up. And Raleigh able to finish the last rep.
Unable to finish the last rep. He still had reps remaining.
Oh, I thought he had only 1 remaining, and he walked across that finish line without any hurry. But no, if he didn't have any, if he had reps remaining, they will take a 0. Unofficially, Venom will take 2 points. And if that's the case, unofficially, it is locked up 14-14.
It is locked up.
We will see in just a few minutes. Now we are going to talk about the sprint relay that's coming up. All right, sprint relay, if the score, it doesn't matter who took this last race. The sprint relay will decide the winner of this match.
For the 3rd time today.
For the 3rd time today. Now, we were talking when we were off air. It looks like the Venom did take that race. They're putting the score up. So we were talking off air. Right now, it is 14-14.
Woo.
The Venom have not thrown their flag. Doesn't matter if they do or do not, unless they want some extra points that could help them in the South as far as the point differential.
Definitely.
If they take this.
And as we know, they definitely need that point to catch up, because they are about 14 points behind from the 3rd seed, I believe.
Yeah, and sitting in 4th place in the South currently.
Yes.
So we'll be right back with that sprint relay.
It doesn't get any better than that.
Event structure. Match. A grid league event featuring 2 teams competing in a series of races. Match winners are determined by a tally of points accumulated according to race outcomes. Grid league team. A full team consists of 18 players, 9 male and 9 female. Players perform in different roles on the teams and are strategically placed into races by the head coach. Race. A series of elements that must be performed in order to finish the race. The exception is the ladder race, in which points are tallied according to successful lifts. Race outcomes yield point values that are tallied to determine the match winner. Match format. The movement or element variation of the races from match to match. Movement. An athletic movement used in races that is defined by a set of standards. Elements. A specific segment of a race involving one movement at a consistent parameter such as weight or height. Element value. A value applied to a race element indicating the general significance of that element to the race outcome overall. Field of play. Grid. The field of play. Lane. One side of the grid. Each team performs in a single lane. Quadrant. One of 4 equal sections of each lane. Hash mark. Line segments along the outside of each quadrant, dividing it into 4 sections. Hash box. The space between 2 hash marks or a hash mark and quadrant line. Rig. A central structure on which several movements are performed. Start or finish zones. Area adjacent to the respective line outside of the field of play. Grid play. Substitution. In race switch of players on the grid. Tag. Contact between players signifying a substitution. Fault. A repetition deemed not to meet the specified standards and does not count. Bonus flag. A flag thrown by a head coach designating the subsequent race to be worth an extra point. Grid lock. The result of a point tally that is tied at the end of regulation play. A designated version of the final race of the match, sprint relay, is run to determine the match winner. Roster terms. Eligible player. A player designated by the team to be able to perform in a given match. Active player. A player designated by the team to be able to perform in a given race. Failure to properly designate an active player results in a penalty. Starting roster. 5 players of each gender active to perform initially in a match. Alternate roster. Up to 3 players of each gender that can permanently replace a starter or otherwise active player in a match. Wild card. 1 designated player that is the only alternate that does not permanently replace a starter or otherwise active player. The player they replace may re-enter the match. The wild card is only eligible for 2 races. Learn more about the sport of Grid League at thefgl.com/learn.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back for our 11th race of this match, the last race of the match. These teams are tied up, as you can see on your screen, 14-14. Let's talk about this sprint relay. It's a relay race in which 4 males and 4 females must finish all 8 elements. Players may substitute at any time except after performing the final rep of a given element. Now, after performing a final rep of any element, they must return to the start, make 4 points of contact, and then sprint to the finish before another player can head out onto the grid. Now let's talk about the elements of this sprint relay. In quadrant number 1, it is a 150-pound D-ball. No matter what, male or female, 6 reps going over 45-inch bar. Quadrant number 2, short rope climbs. That is a rope that starts at 8 feet off the ground, climbing to 15 feet. 2 reps in quadrant 2. Then, toes to ring to back uprise, 4 repetitions. Moving on to a 150-pound D-ball carry from the start line to quadrant number 3, back to the start, and then all the way across the grid. From there, deck to pistol over a 6-inch pole for 9 reps, 53-pound kettlebell squat snatch at 9 reps, and 6 reps of a 200-pound snatch, and then wrapping things up with a 200-pound clean and jerk. Now, as you can see on the screen, if you look to the right of these elements, there is that element value we talked about. It essentially is going to affect the impact score of these players and the stats that we started this year with the grid. So when you see those come out, you'll have a better understanding of what we're talking about. So we got about 30 seconds, and we're firing off on that sprint relay.
20 seconds.
So different strategies come with this race. Like we talked about before, a couple different people might be lifting this first 150-pound ball over the yoke. We'll see how each of these teams handle it.
It's going to be so exciting.
Teams, stand by. Race.
All right, so Robbie Rodriguez for the Venom, Griffin Raleigh for the Wild. 2 of the stronger gentlemen in the grid, or on the grid today. So they have now tapped out and substituted in. Homestead in for Robbie Rodriguez. And that looked like Willard for the Wild that finished up. So now we have Alex Alvarez and Long for the Wild, having trouble grabbing that 8-foot rope. And he finally manages to get a hold of it. The problem with that is he had it moving so much, and that black tape at the bottom is not easy to grab. So when it's moving like that, now he was able to catch up a little bit. Both teams have crossed. They have now sent Montenegro and Billington out onto the grid. Billington on your screen for the Wild. Venom have Montenegro now on your screen. Both hands are in the air for their referees. Both players sprinting to the start line and back to the finish. Sending out the next player Robbie Rodriguez for the Venom out to quadrant number 3. Geronimo for the Wild.
And the Geronimo has the med ball on his back, giving it to Yana Babbitt to take it to the finish line.
Yep.
Casey Blow has it for the Venom, taking it to the finish line. And it looks like Blow is going to get ahead of Babbitt, with Kristen Crenshaw following behind
Babbitt,
for those deck to pistols.
Sorry to interrupt, but Babbitt went down in quadrant number 4. She fell, dropped the ball, so it has held them up just a little bit. Both teams working on that deck to pistol over that 6-inch pole.
It looks like Kristen Crenshaw just hit that stick a little bit, and it didn't fall. Oh, and it fell now.
Alan, you spoke it into existence. That was one more rep. She was faulted. Now the door is open for the Wild.
Oh, they lost their little lead there
Back
with that
and
little
forth.
thing. Oh man, that comes down to strategy and being very careful of the equipment, because as you know, that stick is not supported by anything but a little piece of tape. So if it goes down, it's the player's responsibility to put that back.
And Casillas and Long now battling it out with that kettlebell squat snatch, each of them with a 53-pound kettlebell. 3 reps remaining for Casillas. Long is done. He's sprinting to that start line.
Casillas finished running to the start line for that 4-point touch and to the finish line. CrossFit Thor already at the 4th quadrant, finishing up his snatches.
Touch and go, 6 snatches at 200 pounds. Joe Gomez for the Venom now out on the grid. Now also going touch and go, trying to close that gap as much as possible. 1 rep remaining for Gomez. Raleigh celebrating as he heads through, but this is not over yet. 1 rep completed for the Wild, 1 more to go. Germaine heading out, can she help? And it looks like Amanda Fisher will wrap things up for the Wild. Amanda Fisher screaming, celebrating. They have taken this match and this sprint relay. As we watch Germaine, she'll come through the finish line, but let's go back to that Wild team going crazy, fired up. It was a back and forth between these 2 teams through the entire match. Came down to this sprint relay. 3 out of 4 races have done that.
Yes,
How you feeling after that?
Man, that was so exciting to watch, the way that it went back and forth between the Wild having the lead, the Venom having the lead, the Wild having the lead. And it's just been such a competitive match from the beginning.
Absolutely. Well, that is going to do it for us. Actually, before we do that, let's give a quick shout out to some of our sponsors before we give the final score of the day. Innovate. You see the shoes on the majority of the players. Our sponsor is Innovate. They're providing the footwear to the players out on the grid. PT Athletic shorts. You've seen a lot of the ladies wearing those on many of the teams. We've got Lost My Grip for the Venom. And then, of course, Keon, providing key aminos for recovery. And then, of course, our number 1, I would say our, I don't know how to put it, our
invaluable sponsor that we could not have done this without.
It's number 1, Sky Hill USA. You can go to skyhillusa.com, find the best grips on the planet. You can see them out on the grid. If you rewatch any of these races or matches from today, you'll find them. They come in those pink and awesome different colors, pink, purple, orange, and that's Sky Hill USA. From Orlando, Florida, USA Fit Games in the Orange County Convention Center.
Actually, hold on a second.
Yeah.
It looks like there's some kind of review on the Gainesville Wild.
So the Venom have pointed something out. They're asking the referee, the head referee, to look it over. They asked the teams to step away because they don't need them to be involved while the head referee is reviewing everything. So right now, on the right side of your screen, you can see he's looking with the cameraman. He's reviewing exactly what happened, what's in question, and then we're going to get a final confirmation before we sign out for the day.
But it looks like Venom is continuing to warm up just in case they do need to rerun that match.
That would be wild.
That would be wild.
Not Gainesville wild. But in any event, it is 14-14 without counting this last race. There's still some chatter going on between the commissioner and the two head referees.
And let me tell you, these referees do not have it easy.
No, they don't. I mean, you got to be on top of the standards. You got to be, you know, you got people upset with you if you make
Someone is always going to dislike you as a referee.
Absolutely.
But here they are doing their due diligence. They said, hey, we need this reviewed, and they're doing their due diligence to make sure that this is fair play.
Yeah, like we said through all these matches, this is a sport, a professional sport. There cannot be gray areas like football. Ladies and gentlemen, apologize for that hold up. After review and checking the rule book, final ruling from our head referee, the Wild do take that final race of the match, the sprint relay.
Yep.
So once again, just to recap, we had 4 matches today. The Northern Conference took every single one of them.
Yeah,
North over South today. I made a foolish bet when we were talking.
Yes, we
and
did
I
on
said,
our podcast.
Yep, that I thought that the Lions would come out and a few other teams from the South. Did not happen. In any event, we're going to wrap it up here. My name is Joe Roberto.
My name is Cassie Martinez.
And we will see you guys on August